Is the agenda someone?
Yeah, it's right up here. Okay, we will call to order this meeting of the Board of Selectmen, regular meeting on March 28th, 2023, 6:00 p.m. Roll call. To my right is Richard Matter, Selectman, and Dana Bennett, First Selectman. To my left is Todd Babbitt, Selectman. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. All right. Correspondence, we have none. New business. A, discussion of possible action on 3 tax refunds for a total of $489.17 as presented by Leona Sharkey, tax collector.
I'll make a motion to approve the 3 tax refunds for a total of $489.17 as presented by the tax collector.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. B, discussion and possible action on request to the ordinance committee to create a proposed town building committee ordinance. Included in your packet information, just an example that was sent to them. The reason being that the only way that we can establish a building committee now is just by approval from the Board of Selectmen, but we don't really have an ordinance to follow. One of the things that the Board of Finance has brought up is that we need to have an ordinance that would require a town clerk for building projects and things, or sorry, a clerk of the works for building projects when we're doing those. So this is just something that was forwarded to the ordinance committee. They have not acted on it. I don't believe they just, I think, discussed it. I didn't really listen to the meeting yet. So any comments or discussion on this?
We'll see what they put together, I guess.
Okay. Okay. Great. Next, discussion of possible action on standards of conduct for ordinance committee members. This came from the ordinance committee. And they wanted to ensure that they have certain steps that they follow when they come to a town meeting, when they come to a town meeting on ordinance, because Ed Burdick is on the ordinance committee. He was concerned about being a moderator because a lot of times he's a moderator for our town meetings, and they wanted to kind of establish some guidelines that an ordinance member cannot act as the moderator for a special town meeting when we're passing ordinances. So the standards of conduct are those 4 bullets down there. Are there any comments on this?
We need to send that to a town attorney just to review it before we.
Do we have to vote on something like that? I mean, it's a committee. They could, create their own.
My only comment would be to see if we should, or if we should have it reviewed by town attorney, and then it should probably go to the ethics commission just so they know what's in place if we do put it in place.
That
Make sure, probably should make sure they agree with it before we approve it, really. Make sure there's no conflicts from their end.
Okay, any other comments? I think the ordinance committee has also discussed the fact that out of all the ordinances, there's not an ordinance for the ordinance committee, although there are ordinances for other committees. So this may, I don't know that I was at the meeting when you discussed this, Dave. Would this eventually turn into or be a portion of an ordinance for the ordinance committee?
That was discussed and we didn't know if it should be or not. To me, it was just the guideline that was to be established for the ordinance committee to adhere to.
It's labeled as a policy, so to
Right.
me, that's what it's proposed as,
Right,
not part of an ordinance. It would be a, part of a package, I guess, that they would hand out to a new member as a policy. That's the way I see it.
yeah, I think you're right. Anything else? Okay, I will run this by our attorney and by the ethics commission members. All right, D, discussion of possible action on Northeast Midway's event agreement. I did send this to, I believe, the fire marshal, the building official, and the town planner. I thought he had looked at this one prior. And then the town planner is the only one that responded and mentioned that we need to make sure they have insurance, which we've done year after year, so.
Yeah, the only question I have is it says that the town's responsible for grounds cleanup. In the past, when they've left large piles of stuff that we've had to pick up, and I don't think that really should be our responsibility to pick that up. Maybe emptying the garbage and picking up trash on the ground, but probably 2-3 pickup loads in the past, just in piles.
I thought last year we had this, you mentioned the same thing and we did something different.
Well, we billed last year for some damage and for that.
Okay,
So
Well, and that was for the summer of 2021, the damage to the curb.
that was the last
Okay.
time I think we had a problem. But
Did you bill for cleanup? Did Public Works end up going, they did the 3 truckloads?
Yep.
Okay,
and we billed for that. So I just want to make sure that the understanding is clear that I think emptying of the trash receptacles and maybe picking up litter on the ground is one thing, but it shouldn't be when they leave this large piles that they've left behind.
so did they pay if we billed for the pickup?
Yes, they did.
They did pay, okay,
We do have a dumpster down in that location, so Public Works would typically be paid to come in and empty the trash.
right.
And we bring it up to that dumpster and they're more than welcome to use that dumpster. We've told them that.
So some kind of a clause in here that says that we would like them
Well,
to
I think
pick up and clean up, otherwise then we will be billing them again.
the grounds cleanup should simply just be limited to trash receptacle emptying and papers on the ground. Not large concentrated piles of debris.
Okay. Anything else? All right. E, discussion of possible action on waiving zoning permit fees for Griswold Housing Authority renovation and possible construction. The renovation at McCluggage Manor and the possible construction in the same area. So Paul just brought us a document. He'd also left me these documents, I think, yesterday, just about the fact that they're a nonprofit entity that's, well, I think I've given away all of mine. Yeah, I get one of those back for the file when you're done looking at it. So we can keep it on. I think it might have been in the packet anyway, so I think we're set.
Yeah. no, I'm sorry.
Okay,
It
thank
wasn't in
you.
the packet.
Do we, oh, nope, it wasn't, because I got it yesterday. Do we have a motion to waive zoning permit fees for the Griswold Housing Authority?
I'll make a motion to waive the zoning permit fees for GHA renovation and possible construction in the phone.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. All right, old business update on economic development. You may or may not be aware that we didn't receive the CIF grant for the water that we had written with Heritage River. And for the water tower and the water development. We don't have notification that we didn't receive anything, but they have published the communities that did receive it. We're waiting for a letter. We should be having a discussion with them next week and hopefully getting our letter prior to that discussion. Senator Summers did reach out to me today to get additional information for the state bond commission for the water. And so that meeting was supposed to happen the 31st. It looks like they've canceled the March meeting, and I don't know if they'll have the April meeting. They kind of continually do that. So I did send her another packet of information today.
Do you know what some of the towns were that got it?
I can forward you the email. They were all towns pretty much on the western side, Norwich. And
Things don't change. do they?
New Haven. I don't even know if New London got anything. New Britain, yeah, all western side, Hartford, yeah. So typical award or non-award to Griswold at this point. But they seem to like our project. We're going to work with them and kind of see how we can revamp things and apply again. The next round, I think, is due in May. So we will do it again. What else on economic development? Have not heard anything from the data centers. Heritage River is still going strong. For the water and sewer, we are going out to bid. I think on April 13th. I'm not sure we have all of those dates. I think with the hopes of getting all the bids and opening those in May. Possibly May 25th. I think. See, any other questions on economic development? We did send the final information for the senior center to Ryan Acosta last week after the architects went in and looked at the building, and they completed a certificate for us. Ryan is supposed to get back to us this week. We haven't heard back from him yet with Ryan Acosta.
The grant denial for Heritage River Village, that's who you're gonna meet with, or?
We'll meet with the CIF, with DECD on the
So
Community
maybe-
Investment Fund.
You can find out where we were deficient,
Right.
you know, maybe we can improve our opportunities or ratings for the next round.
Right. I think they're even going so far to look at the wording and see if there's matched wording that some of those organizations or communities used. So, yep. That is our plan. Any other questions? Okay. All right, number 6, any other business that may properly come before the board? Anything? Number 7, public forum. Yes.
Good evening, 158 Lincoln Drive, Mohammed Biwa.
Okay.
You can call me Mo. I am the president of the Patchogue Pond Association. I'm here to represent the 129 homes that make up our association. So before I begin, I just want to thank the town, our board of selectmen, for providing citizens like myself and our association the opportunity to come and bring forth ideas or issues that we deem essential. So thank you all for that. So why am I here today? Well, the purpose of me being here today is to surface our past requests for assistance to the town to help us enforce road maintenance and safe passage amongst the streets in our association. In the past, I'd say 3 months, we've sent 4 emails to the board of selectmen, and to the fire chief, and we've yet to hear a response. Now, the issue of the town's role in these matters pertaining to our roads has been a long-standing issue that predates my 5 years living in Griswold. But the one thing I can say within my 5 years of being here, the same issue has manifested and come up in different and interesting ways. And each time it happens, myself, the members of our association, we all come have the same response. We need guidance, we need help, because, you know, upon our, legal to our association, ourselves, we just don't have the, I guess, the power to help, you know, curtail certain issues. I'm under no understanding that this issue or any other long-standing issue could be, you know, rectified within, you know, this short meeting. But what I do ask of our selectmen is to, you know, tap into that email chain that we sent. Start the discussion, talk with us and help us, work with us so we can create a solution to, you know, curtail these issues that have been long-standing in our neighborhood. I want to note that I have copies of our prior correspondence through email, so for the selectmen if you need it. And I just want to thank you again for your time, and we're ready to talk. There you are.
Thank you. I appreciate you bringing this to us, and I'm sorry that you had to wait a week and couldn't bring it last week.
No worries.
I don't know if you got responses to the emails. I would have to take time to pull those up right now, but I do know that our fire chief, Tom Holloway, did speak with you and somebody in the neighborhood. I also believe our public works director, Todd, may have gone over there and observed some things and possibly spoken with someone in the neighborhood. The unfortunate problem is that those are not public roads. So anything that happens on those roads is not the responsibility of the town. I understand that there are some issues with bypassing. I think there were some investigations done by a couple of people just to make sure a fire truck could get through and make sure, you know, emergency vehicles could get through where people had blocked off some of the private road. But I think that you would probably have to seek legal counsel to take care of that, and it would not be a Board of Selectmen issue.
Yeah, I think that's the issue you're talking about, where there was some obstruction to the road.
Well, that's the latest manifestation of that same issue that's occurred as far as blockages or in the road. You know, so I think in a lot of ways, that's a perfect example because I'm not sure when's the last time the town or the fire chief has gone back, but the individual has gone and put more things in the road or and move things in. So it almost becomes like a cat and mouse thing where, you know, we'll raise an issue or we'll report it and then it subsides, time goes away, then it becomes an issue then. And the one thing I have is a concern for the neighbors in our association. In the past, when they try to, you know, rectify these issues, okay, so if there's an obstruction in the road, they'll go in and manually move it. The problem is the individual in this instance has reacted in, you know, ways that are sometimes violent, verbally abusive. There's times where she's accused individuals of sexual assault without that being the case, and she's threatened people. So we're put in a situation where there's an issue, and when we try to address it, there's this negative response, and it's far outside of our bounds. So in the instance of this individual who's putting the barriers in the road, you know, is it within our ability to ask the town, hey, if we have to move these obstacles, can we have the support of a police officer who's on site so that the individual doesn't react or threaten or harm somebody in the process of doing so? Because that's my concern. It's not necessarily about me. It's about the older individuals, the younger kids who ride along that back street. And she is, or that person, I won't say indicate anything, but that person in particular is not discriminate. She will react the same way. And the reason why I reach out is just out of concern for those individuals, because, you know, they're put in a situation where they have to kind of fend for themselves and they run away, and it shouldn't be that way.
Right, I would be able to put you in touch with the commander at Troop E in Montville. There's a new commander down there. We don't have the troopers or police officers in the town of Griswold, so we wouldn't have any jurisdiction to ask them to come. But I could certainly give you his contact information. You could reach out to him and just let him know that you've spoken with us and maybe be able to contact them if you have an issue. If they're familiar with it, they become familiar with what's happening, they may be able to be responsive to it.
So can I just address it?
Yes, absolutely.
So the residents we're talking about, I dealt with 4 or 5 years ago with an illegal structure. I don't know if you were there then. We took many safeguards to do what we had to do under a court order because we knew the volatility of that area with that residence. And we successfully did that, but there was a lot of precautions because of the situation. And I think you know what I'm talking about. The last time I was out there with this issue was December 5th, 2022. I took the pictures and sent them to the fire chief because he was working and he asked me to go look at it. At that time, I witnessed a garbage truck going through there. It was muddy, but they made it through. And I think when he went and looked at it, we determined that yes, the fire department would get through. It's not the ideal situation, but they would get through. And I think that's the only thing really that we're going to be able to address is public safety. If public safety is jeopardized, the fire department can't respond, they can't get through, then I think we have to step in, you know, as on behalf of the taxpayers and say something's got to be done. But other than that, I agree that, you know, they are private roads. You know, and it's tough. We don't have anything really to stand on to enforce anything on a private roadway. I think, you know, going out there, taking the pictures when we got the original email was our response to say, we got to look at this pretty quick. And we did. I haven't been asked to go look at it lately, so I don't know if it's changed since December, to be honest with you.
Right, so the one thing is, you know, the initial email, you know, that was our formal request for assistance. And I think part of the issue, what's happened in the past, when these issues arise, they're handled in ways where the information rests with one person. That person may come or go, you know, may retire or go to another neighborhood. And then the issue pops up again and they say, well, I talked to so-and-so. I don't know so-and-so, so-and-so is not here anymore. So the purpose of us sending the email was in a way to change the conversation as how it's been done in the past. So if the issue does arise again, we have some concrete thing set in stone that we can point to and say, well, when this issue occurred in the past, this is how the town responded. So that is not only for us, but it's for our members as well. So when we're in a meeting, we can say, hey, the town said X, Y, Z. And then, you know, we're absolved from anything, because when that's not in place, it becomes this back and forth thing. Was like, well, I talked to this person. Well, I talked to this person. And depending on the time of day, depending on the individual, you can be they can be in the same meeting or the same conversation and have two different perspectives and retain information in different ways. So again, that's why, you know, with our current officers in place, we want to change that methodology and really be forthright with the conversation and make sure that, you know, we have some kind of resource that we can point to. The only thing I want to raise while I'm here is that, you know, the one thing I've heard in general from our association or our neighbors, they say, hey, town says no, the town says they can't do this. The town says, I'm like, okay, this is great, but is there a resource or a document that outlines what our association can do, what is in our ability to enforce certain things? Because the issue is there's quite a bit of gray area where, you know, someone puts something, well, you know, there was an issue with the bus stop or whatever. If someone puts something somewhere and they say, hey, you guys do that because you own the road, and it's like, I don't own the road, and I have no resource, I have no documentation that I can present to the person and say, hey, no, I can't. And this document says that we can do this, but we can't do that. So I think in a lot of ways when these things occur, we're flying kind of blind And I don't want to do a thing where we're shooting off the hip things, as far as providing solutions that sound right. I want to be able to be firm and say, hey, you know what, we can't do that. Or you know what, that's outside of our boundaries. You have to reach out to the town for this issue. But us working and not having some kind of guidance or so if there's some documentation or statutes in place that you can point us to, that would go so far, as far as us managing these issues.
Did you have a comment?
Well, there may be a statute, I don't know.
Yeah.
Connecticut statute, I don't know, but when the association was formed, there should have been some kind of agreement that you should have.
Yes,
Yeah, so we do
So
have. Yeah,
That
so
should spell out what you can and can't do.
it would be, right, ideally, in a perfect world, it should, but I believe the deed we have dates far back to, I don't even know, it's ancient. So it doesn't get into specifics, it's a lot of general information. And because of that, when the new members or new people who join the neighborhood, they take a look at the deed and there's not much, going into detail. It's almost whatever they make of it type of thing. And it's kind of hard for us to push back and say, well, yeah, it says this, but technically, so.
And we wouldn't be able to answer any of those questions, but we could prepare a letter back to you that would talk about what the town is able to do and how the town is able to help, like Todd said, when there's an issue that inhibits public safety, that's affecting public safety, we can go out there and do things, but we can outline what we could do. You would have to figure out on your own what you're able to do.
I think that within itself is a step in the right direction, because I think if anything, if something occurs, at the very least, we can say, hey, this is what the town can do in regards to this issue. And then we can go from there.
anything within our right of way.
Right.
Of Latham Drive, we had an instance, was it last year with the stop sign on private property? So, we did go out, we located boundaries, we resolved that situation because it was in our right of way. So stuff like that I can do if it's our right of way, but if it's outside of the road, I'll assist if I have to, like taking pictures and sending it to the fire chief, but I don't have any authority outside of our right of way as far as public work.
And that's, the outline you're providing, I think that's excellent to include as well.
Okay.
Just so we can, again, provide that guidance to the members, because they come to us, for that information. And I don't like the fact that it's always like kind of a shrug your shoulders type thing and, hey, yeah, you can kind of do this. So I want to, in how we deal with these issues, I want to be forthright. And I just want to have some kind of set guideline in place where we can, provide some guidance to our association.
All right, we'll work on developing something and, we can work together, Todd, on what we can and can't do and provide a letter to
And
you.
the one thing I know, I want to highlight that the individual in particular, but in the instance where, someone is, being forceful and how, if there's a procedure, I know that you'll give me the number to the police officer or sergeant. But if there's a procedure that we should, go about it, so we don't have 5 people calling you at once for the same issue, anything to help streamline the process, I think that'll be helpful to our association.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other public forum? Dave,
Dave View, 59 Leah Avenue. Yeah, another quarter has gone by and I'm doing my usual interrogatory regarding the Petrillo property. And this time I'm gonna throw in the collapsing house on the Stott property if the town is moving forward on either of those. To me, our EDC, you read to their minutes, they're looking at making presentations to prospective tenants are coming into, or businesses coming into Griswold. Tell you, if I was a businessman and I'm driving in and I see collapsed buildings, I don't think it's gonna be a neighborhood I wanna move into.
the Petrillo property is still not owned by the town yet, but I think we are getting closer. Do you know anything about the advancement of that yet? I don't.
The last I knew was you
It-
got something from the attorney, but
And it, yes, and it was, they appealed it. I don't know if the appeal time has run out, so I don't have a complete answer on that for you. The Staub property, we are moving forward with legal information toward them to get that done. Because they have had letters sent to them. We've had our blight officer out there in the last week or so. And so we are moving forward. They are required to take those buildings down, so. Any other public forum? Rich?
Rich Canover, 52 Dina Lane. I just have a couple of questions, basically some follow-up stuff. The trash pickup, where did that end, Todd? Are we going forward with that, or we just?
right now, from gathering information from the other towns, I informed both.
You said it was gonna be expensive to go down that road.
Yeah, Preston and North Stonington are seeing 200% increases in disposal and hauling. And Alleged right now has got 1 year left in their contract. They're trying to negotiate with Costello. And Costello is not wanting to negotiate to extend their contract. Right now, Alleged, when they bid it 5 years ago, we're paying $9 a customer per month, which is pretty cheap. And they don't know what they're facing going forward. Nobody, it seems to be such an,
So is this something you're kind of like backing away from for right now?
I think so, until we can see, right now, SCARA, which is the Preston incinerator. We're putting together a group package to try to go out with all the member towns for bulky waste disposal to try to negotiate a cheaper rate for that and include an alternate for hauling for some of these towns. We haul our own, so we don't have that issue, but that's where we're starting, and we're gonna see if we can kind of negotiate pricing with that. And then I think from there, we want to move on to see if we can get prices for residential for towns to be able to jump into.
I know you had mentioned about the multifamilies with the dumpsters that are overflowing and the town has to go out and clean up and all that stuff. Does it make sense that if you have to do that at a property, that maybe the first time you send the landlord a letter saying, listen, this is what we had to do today, we took pictures, here they are, next time you're gonna get billed for our services?
We bill every time we go out.
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
Okay.
the health department usually will take the pictures and send them to the landlord.
Yeah.
They give them, depending on the situation, 15 days, 10 days, sometimes 5. If they see active rodents, it's 5 days. And we pick it up.
Yeah.
But we always bill for the cleanup. At least to
Yeah.
break even cost.
And the other one I had was probably from 2 or 3 months ago. We had talked about the American ambulance deal with Hartford Healthcare. And you talked about trying to get both sides to sit down and have a discussion about the contract. Has that happened
We have, and we have signed the contract with American Ambulance. Yes, so,
with Hartford?
or I'm sorry, with Hartford Healthcare.
And you're honoring the contract?
They are,
Okay,
yes.
for the whole term.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
To go back to your trash pickup, the other thing that has happened with that, all of the southeastern Connecticut towns are concerned about trash pickup for all of their towns. And we have a council of governments, and so we are trying to combine our resources as towns and potentially look at contracting as a group.
But you can go bargaining power that way, sure.
Yeah, so that is in place at this
That's what
point.
we're trying to do with SCARA with the member towns.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, any other public forum? No other public forum? Okay, number 8,
Motion to adjourn at 6:32.
okay,
I'll second
all in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries, we're adjourned, thank you, everyone.
Wouldn't that association have their own attorney that they should contact?
The problem from what I've seen in the past is they don't, when new people come in, not all